Hello everyone, welcome back to another Pokemon the series, the beginning episode talks, and this episode was very excellent. So let's just get into it. So the gang are at the Pokemon Center and Ash gets a message to call Professor Oak. So he calls Professor Oak, but Professor Oak isn't really able to tell Ash what he called about because he gets slobbered by Muck. But eventually he gets it out that there's a new Pokedex update because apparently there are new Pokemon discovered. I always found it weird how the Pokemon anime kind of did this, because how are people in Paldea feeling about the new news that Togepi was discovered? Or like Cynthia's just there with like a Togekiss on her team. It's like, what do you mean Togepi's been discovered? We've had that idiot for a while. That kind of stuff. So Ash gets a new update and also a new voice for the Pokedex as well. So then the gang is trying to figure out where to go and they decide to go to Cinnabar Island, and also they're wondering when the egg is going to hatch because Brock has been very much taking care of that egg since Ash got it a couple episodes ago. Misty wants it to hatch into a Tentacruel, and my first reaction was, but how though? Tentacool. But then Brock is like, I would like a Golem. It's like, Geodude, you know that these eggs hatch into the first evolution, right? Not the last. Man, if you could hatch a Golem, that would be something. It would eliminate the trait evolution entirely. But Team Rocket hears this, and they are also very much interested in that egg. So now they need a plan to get that egg. And they got one. So the gang heads outside, but then Team Rocket appears in disguise as egg sellers. And they want to sell the gang some eggs. And then it's like, oh, you have an egg? Let me see. And then they throw their eggs in with the rest. But then Meowth swipes the egg and it goes away. So the gang is searching for the egg while Team Rocket does their motto, which doesn't really work all that well. But Team Rocket has their eggs, so technically they've won. And then at their hideout, I guess, Meowth is determined to hatch the egg, even though James constantly wants to eat it. I like mine soft-boiled when he's in the bath. That was funny. And then later on, James bakes some scrambled eggs. You insensitive idiot! Oh, this episode had some good humor to it. But the gang are following the egg trail. For some reason, there's an egg trail going back to Team Rocket, and they find them. So Ash sends out Pidgeotto to cause a bit of a storm in there, and then it's basically gonna be who gets the egg, because they're all fighting over each other. Brock opens his eyes once again, but eventually Pikachu catches the egg after Ash misses a catch. And then Ash grabs the egg, and then he's like, oh hey, something is moving inside. And the egg is indeed going to hatch, but then Misty just pushes Ash and Brock out of the way and grabs the egg and just looks at it, and it hatches into a Togepi, as the grandmas are calling it, and looks straight at Misty and is like, well, okay, yeah, that's it. It's over. She gets to keep the egg because that's how it works. Newborns usually are more about the person that they see for the first time. At least that's what I always heard. I don't know if it's true, but it's imprinted itself upon Misty. It's like the same story of like a bird that hatches and it's like, oh, now it thinks you're its mom. That kind of stuff. But the gang needs to decide who gets to keep Togepi, and everyone wants Togepi. So a tournament will be held. A 4-way tournament because Meowth instantly bans Jesse and James from the tournament. So the first round match is going to be Brock versus Meowth. At which point Meowth is absolutely useless because Onix is a worthless Pokemon and doesn't really gain worth until it becomes a Steelix because of how terrible its attack stat is. A base 40 attack stat is despicable. 45. My bad. Doesn't matter. Still garbage. When Caterpie has a base attack stat of 30 and a base speed stat of 45, you know you've done something wrong. When Pidgey has an equal base stat to Onix, which, by the way, when this came out, he couldn't evolve. Pidgey can still become Pidgeotto and Pidgeot. Onix can't evolve by the time that Red and Blue came out. Or Red and Green, I guess. So you have a base 45 attack stat. Like, defense is the only thing that Pokemon has to its name. And Meowth, all your moves are physical, so you're kind of useless. But then Meowth sees a couple of buckets of water, so he throws that on Onix and then knocks it out, which is entirely cheating. And Brock even points it out, but they don't do anything with it. So on to the next round, where we have Ash versus Misty, and Ash is like, well, she likes water-type Pokemon, so go Bulbasaur. And Misty's like, alright, I'm gonna use this one. Let's go. And then Psyduck pops out. And Misty then yells, go, Bulbasaur, go for the head. And Ash is like, I'm not that stupid. And then it's like, Bulbasaur, lick Psyduck's head. And then tickle it At which point, Psyduck then returns to the Pokeball, and Ash wins. And Misty is just like, you should have gone for the hit. So Ash wins. So now it's Ash versus Meowth. And I also like the fact that Jesse and James did not want to lend Pokemon to Meowth. So Meowth is both his own trainer and the Pokemon battling. I thought that was fun too. But Meowth is like, alright, we can do this. We have to do this for Togepi. And then Pikachu's tail lands on his head. And Pikachu then uses Thunderbolt and just knocks Meowth out instantly. So Ash wins. He gets to keep Togepi. But it has imprinted itself upon Misty, so Misty gets to keep Togepi. So while the tournament was entertaining, especially with Meowth, it was utterly worthless because at the end of the day, Misty still gets to keep Togepi. And that is basically where the episode ends. And overall, I thought this episode was actually a lot of fun. I really enjoyed the whole egg jokes from James, but also the whole in the hideout where everyone's just going for the egg. I thought that the throwing it to each other was fun as well. And then obviously, we finally have, you know, that tournament where Meowth throws water on Onix, but is still allowed to progress. And also the fact that Meowth is his own trainer. There was a lot of fun in this episode, and I very much enjoyed it. And Misty now has a first Generation 2 Pokemon. I like how this is not just the first official Generation 2 Pokemon owned by a main character. This is also the first egg, which was also an element introduced in Generation 2. So a bunch of Generation 2 stuff when I guess we didn't even know that Generation 2 was happening, because this came out in the 25th of June of 1998. It would take more than a year for Generation 2 to officially come out in Japan. On the 21st of November of 1999 is when Gold and Silver released in Japan. And like a year before that, we got Togepi and we got the concept of Pokemon eggs. I always found that interesting when the anime did that. It was the same with like introducing Weavile and Lucario during Hoenn, or like Blaziken during Johto. And then they just stopped doing that. Well, kind of. I mean, you have the movie where you have Zoroark, but movies are kind of different because people talk about their canonicity. Like, is it canon or is it not canon? Maybe it's canon, maybe it's not canon. So that's kind of where the problem comes into play. But like, I always loved that they did that, and this was a monumental episode because what even is Togepi? Like, that is a Pokemon you cannot obtain. Like, the only other thing that we saw was Ho-Oh, but we didn't really see it clearly in that sense. But this one is just like a Togepi, and I feel like maybe during that time, a lot of people in Japan, at the very least, ran around trying to figure out what this was, because by the time that this episode came out in the United States, which was in March of 1999, Generation 2 was, I feel like, already revealed. But in 1998, kids in Japan were probably like, what even is a Togepi? How do I get it? But let me know what you guys thought about this episode in the comment section down below. And with that being said, thank you all so very much for watching, and I hope you guys have enjoyed. And if you did, please like button, subscribe if you're new for the dance already, turn on notifications, and don't forget to check out the Let's Play channel, link in the description and at the end of the video. And I'll see you guys next time for a rejected evolution. Bye!